Hey, what's up? My name is Haviah, and you are here with Pushthewall. I am born in Toronto, but raised in Brampton. Toronto was interesting. I'd say that, I don't know if it's because of the area that I grew up in, or I don't know exactly the reason why, but it wasn't the best experience. I definitely experienced a little bit more racism. But when I moved to Brampton, there was a big shift with that. The school system was a lot more supportive of me as a young individual. And so in my personal experience, Brampton was a really, really good shift. But I took a lot of positives from both growing up in Brampton and Toronto. Yeah, growing up music was huge in my household. I have 3 older sisters who all play the keys and are singers. My older sister is a piano teacher. All of my sisters are inclusive in my music at some point in my career, or will be. My little brother, as well, is a producer and produced stuff off of my latest record. So yeah, we're just really, really like into the arts, mostly like sonic arts. Yeah, my parents, oh my gosh, I was first, what? My parents had a huge influence. They're the reason, I think they recognized that my older sister, when she was the only one, she was really responsive to music, and that seemed to apply for all of us as we came to be. But yeah, they were a huge influence. I think my parents are very musical, artistic people as well. And yeah, they've been very supportive of the arts for all of their children. Yeah, I'd say once I recognized that I had access to certain resources, meaning when I got my first job, I knew I could buy a computer. Production was like a natural transition for me. I wasn't good in the beginning, definitely wasn't good in the beginning, but I got good pretty quick. And I think just, being exposed to singing really early and learning a lot about rhythmic dictation and theory and just all these different things all kind of apply to production, and just even like the understanding of like the structure of a song. As a singer who's growing up singing many songs like competitively, yeah, production was something that kind of just made sense. In 2016, I was invited to be a part of a cypher. A cypher is like, it's like kind of like early hip hop culture. Several MCs, they get together, and they explore their lyricism over the same production, and they go one after another. And I was invited to be a part of a Toronto cypher with women, all women. And it was put out for National Women's Day 2016, and it just did really well off top. Posted the video on Facebook, and I remember getting millions of views in a very short period of time. And over the next couple of months, there was just a lot of demand for the 4 girls that were in that cypher video. A few months after that, we formulated what is now the sorority, minus one of the members. Yeah, it was a really cool time. I never thought that I would be in a group. It wasn't something that, other than like I was in a group with my sisters when I was younger. We were the Mighty Family, so I guess technically I was in a group, but the demand was high, and it just seemed like a cool challenge and something to explore that I'd never done before, and just kind of be representative for women in a way that I haven't really seen come out of Toronto in a while. So that was dope. Yeah, there have been times where it's been difficult scheduling wise, especially when I was in the sorority. We were doing mostly sorority stuff, but I was working on 13th floor as a Mighty, and I was working my full-time job. Like, that was probably the hardest time. It was difficult to balance all 3 of those things, but I just persevered, really worked hard, just did everything I could possibly do, and I got through it. And now at this point, I'm balancing the sorority as well as a Mighty. 13th floor is now out, and yeah, like it was just it was a lot of work at that time, a lot of like push and pull, but like that's what this industry calls for. I think adaptability is something that I learned from that, and just kind of like learning to roll with the curve and roll with the punches. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, The Simpsons, Family Guy, Arthur, definitely Arthur. TVO Kids was like, just like Art Attack was like, yeah. Magic School Bus, Monique, certain shows on BT like Monique, and like, yeah, I'd say like those were a lot of my favorite shows. I'm probably missing a few. 13th Floor is a representation of the marginalization that many of us face that is dismissed by those that don't face it. I think it's a large part of my reality, my musical identity, and the things that I've spoken about on this record are off. I think a lot of those topics are things that I would that I think identify my marginalization, things that have been said to me, or things that I'm stigmatized for that separate me from other people, things that set me apart, things I've had to overcome, things that make it more difficult for me to be a confident individual. And I think we all have those. There's 13 tracks on the album 13th Floor, so that's like one layer to the title. In addition to that, there's a record called 13 that's very parallel to the overall theme of the record. So that's another layer. But mostly, It's the parallel between the 13th floor, which is something that we dismiss as a society in North America because of what we're told that it's supposed to mean. So it's supposed to be something negative. The number 13 in itself represents negative, represents bad. You know, even Friday the 13th we dissociate with because we're told to, and we're told whatever it represents, and we don't really ask questions about that, but we're told that it's bad, so we dismiss it. We remove it from whole buildings, and as a society, there's this very clear understanding that anything 13 is, you know, something that you don't really want to associate with. It feels parallel to me, like the stories that I have to tell that are dismissed by others who haven't experienced them, and therefore to them it doesn't exist. It's so easy to pretend or to deny something. It's kind of like the same concept as ignorance is bliss. It's funny because in other places in the world, in other economies and societies, like 13 is a positive number. And in other places, like it's the death card here, but that is equal to the rebirth card. If you look at it from a different scope, which is a restart, it's a fresh start, and 13th floor very much feels like that for me. And so my reality, the marginalization that I face, that I've overcome for me, is a new reality. It's a new fresh start to be able to be as self-refined as I am, to reflect on myself and to not doubt myself the ways that I used to in my musical creation, and to just, you know, be as forward as Haviah Mighty is in her personal life musically, and not let anything hold me back, not worry about the discomfort that I'm passing on to others. That to me is what entering the 13th floor or arriving on the 13th floor is. But I know in North America it's a negative thing, and it's the realities that I face that are dismissed. So yeah, there's a couple layers there. I'm so blown away by the response to 13th floor, to my live shows, to the fact that the album was, you know, nominated for the Polaris. There's just so many different incredible things that have happened that I think are still kind of unfathomable to me, and even just to be recognized by people in venues that I'm attending, but also in the street, but also online, and all these different people still kind of being part of like the audience that is the listener of music, and like people recognizing me as a musician, which is something that, you know, I've always wanted, but I don't know that I ever really put myself in a position to be so deserving of it. And, you know, so I don't know, I'm stuttering a lot because I'm still, you know, processing the fact that like I get to live this incredible life that is like my dream. You know? I don't know if I remember the first album that I ever bought. The first album I ever got was The Lion King Broadway. I auditioned to be in the Broadway version of The Lion King in Toronto, and I made it to the last like audition period, and then I didn't get it, but I got a nice little care package, and it had the Lion King Broadway CD in it. And it's like funny, like when I listen to it, like I really hear how like Broadway music and like classical music and like certain genres of music that are not very hip-hop, trap, rap, or even R&B influence, how a lot of those elements make its way into the music that I make today. And when I like think back to that being one of the first records that I like really heard in full, it's like funny to hear that influence like still live through my songs. A lot of different vibes of music. There was a period where Billy Talent was like the thing for me. So like I was really into that, and like Panic at the Disco. And like when I got into hip hop, that was when I was like really into like Nelly, 50 Cent, Chingy. And then I like got really into like the pop, like Rihanna era too. So Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears. Britney Spears was great. I was really into Britney Spears when I was younger too. She was like one of the first people, her and Beyonce, that like, you know, I was really like, oh, really into like the choreo. Destiny's Child, oh I can't forget Destiny's Child. They're the best. They were the absolute best. TLC. Yeah, I was listening to a lot of different stuff. Like I was having a grand old time. Oh, my first job probably was the weirdest job. I worked at like a car wash. It was an outdoor car wash. I worked there for 2 months. I just couldn't do it. It was outdoor. I got hired in November. It was so cold. And the job was to like clean up the vacuum thingies that you like, you know, people vacuum their car. And it was cool to find like a lot of change in there when you have to empty it. That was cool. But it was just so cold. Like I would be frozen by the end of the shift. And I also wasn't like, I had no like job responsibility. So like, I was just like, it was easy to quit. Like, I don't really quit things easily, but that one, I was like, this is too much. I'm 12. I was actually 12. My childhood celebrity crush. It's definitely a little Bow Wow. He was everything to all of us. And like Mike was really good. Bow Wow was just great. And Bow Wow was like a young rapper who like had amazing delivery and just like cadence and like showmanship, and like it was really representative of like young star power. And like we were singing at a very young age and in singing lessons at a very young age and competitively performing at a very young age. So Bow Wow was like not only like the cutest guy ever, but like also like kind of like inspirational musically at that time. And like he was still a boy, so it was like, oh, like I know that it's still a little different, but like he kind of was a representation of like youthful star power. I hope for the songs to create a discussion, and I hope for awareness to be a big, you know, part of the response to the records and the messages within them. I've lived a long reality of being treated like or told that there's no harder reality for any of us, and everybody has it hard in a different way. And that statement in itself dismisses the reality of what it is like to live as a Black woman in North America who is a rapper. My reality is not the same as everybody's, and it is not to be dismissed. And just as everybody's reality is not to be dismissed, I'm sure everyone could make a 13-track album about their reality, and they could tap into, you know, what they've been through, and we could all feel it. And I've simply done that, and I think, you know, I just speak on behalf of a community that's voice is really quiet right now, and I feel there's not a lot of space for Black women to speak on their experiences, and I'm opening that door, not opening it alone. So many of us are doing that, but I'm participating in opening that door and opening up the conversation that many don't want to have or are discomforted by having, or, you know, think is not worth having. And I know that it is, and I know even more than like how important I feel and how necessary it feels when writing these records, but like the response to it further validates that it's important. I'm getting this positive response not only from women who are Black and that look like me, or women who are dark skinned, but also lighter skinned and white women and women of other ethnicities, but as well men who, you know, could feel that I'm targeting them in the things that I'm saying, but more so recognize that what I'm trying to achieve is a discussion that we can have be progressive, and we can move forward as a community by recognizing the things, the trials and tribulations that other people face. I think it's very similar to like me listening to people of the Indigenous community, and through their art, I'm learning their trials and tribulations and the things that they've faced and the things that they continue to face, and their opinions on things in life that I may see differently, not understanding their plight. Their input has so much to do with history of all, their history, history of others. It's the same with Black people, the Black experience, the female experience, and our history, and how that impacts others, how that impacts society, how that impacts North America. And I think to live in this ignorance is bliss way, and to just live like our own reality and narrative matters, I just feel like it's a very concave way of thinking. It's very one-track minded and one-dimensional. And I'd say in the same way that I want my live show to be really multifaceted, and I want my records to be multifaceted, you know, I want the way that I think, the way that I navigate, to also be multifaceted in the ways in which I learn, and the ways in which I, you know, expel and educate as well, to be multifaceted. And so, you know, that's learning about every different narrative. And, you know, I think also as a musician who's very focused on, you know, my sonic abilities, my production, my style, my sound, and making sure that that makes its way into my music along with my messages, that it's a beautiful thing to be able to also tap into my real. And it makes it easier to talk about, it makes it easier to make records, because I know what I want to talk about, because they're important to me. There are things that are important to me, things that I value, things that I love, or things that I don't love. Just anything, anywhere my passion goes is going to be in alignment with, you know, how much I'm going to put into the production, how much I'm going to put into the sound and songwriting process, how many times I'm going to re-record that take until it's right. Yeah, authenticity, love for what I do, passion for what I do, you know, leads the way and saves the day. Bars. Hashtag bars. But I'd say my favorite bar off the top of my head right now on September the 9th, this September 9th, that I can think of would be The Run from Blame. I'm fly like kamikaze, my throat that throttle, gone in the Maserati. I bang my song from Muhammad Ali, stand tall, yet smell like Mahatma Gandhi and shit. I got gold in both of my tits. You wanna smoke in both of my spliffs. You wanna kiss on both of my lips. I told them like this, yeah. I like that line. If you listen to the actual record, it sounds a little bit better than me saying it in a slower tempo in a raspy voice while playing Super Mario. And when I wrote it, I was like, ooh, I'm in my bag. And then when I play it live, I feel it. Like, I feel the response every time. Like, it's like a momentum that picks up. And people really seem to like that part. And I do too. Makes me dance. Yeah, 13th Floor is a really dope record. Really, really good record. It's really fun. I think it really pushes the envelope in different ways. I think it's a great listen, no matter what you look like or what your reality is. Because I think you'll learn a lot about just the realities of those around you. Whether you look like me or not, you know, whether you're black or not, whether you're a woman or not. I think the ways in which I approach some of the themes are with every listener in mind and with, you know, the hope of discussion in mind. I think, you know, when it comes to mind expansion, and even when you listen to like the style of production that we approach with the different producers, I think it's a fun, unique, artistic, focused record. So yeah, 13th Floor, I feel like it's a dope listen. You should check it out on your Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, whatever it is. And yeah, find yourself at a Haviah Mighty show in the near future.